Now I tried not to touch the rotors too much. It was a pretty clean job, but I also like to take some brake parts cleaner and just make sure everything's clean. And just make sure when you're using this stuff that you don't use it to the exposed O-rings on the caliper pistons, because that's probably not very good for the rubber. But just get it all cleaned up, and then with a clean rag just kind of try to get some of the fingerprints off of it. Now if you are using an impact gun to put the lug nuts back on, it's kind of common sense, but just make sure you get all of these started, a couple rotations before you put the gun on them. And then I like to just kind of put them on somewhat snug, do the star pattern. Just get them good and snug, and then make sure you torque them down correctly with a torque wrench. And what I like to do is get them on here with the gun, and then lower the car to the point where the wheel just barely touches the ground and it's not going to move, but it still doesn't have a lot of pressure on it. Then torque them down, and then re-torque them once they're completely on the ground. So as you can see, I put my good old textbook back under the wheel just because I was using my Craftsman jack. Make sure that there's nothing left underneath here, especially the bucket that you might have used to rest the brake caliper on, and make sure no children are under there, and very gently let it down. And then of course I removed the jack stand. So as you can see, I'm just a little bit above the max level. I have not pumped the brakes yet, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clean up my tools and change my clothes so that I'm nice and clean. Then I'm going to pump the brakes a few times, and hopefully that level will be pretty close to where we want it. If not, we can continue to siphon a little bit more out. Okay, so now that we have our cat back on the top, I'm just going to get in the car. And I've gotten pretty cleaned up since, which I'd recommend so you're not getting your car all dirty. And then just push on the brake. You'll notice it'll go all the way to the floor. Push it a second time, it gets a little better and better. Push it about maybe 5 times or so. And then once it's firmed up pretty good, come check the fluid level again. And we're actually pretty much right on the line. So looks like we siphoned about the perfect amount out of there. And remember, I only had excess in here because the brakes had worn down to the point where it passed the line. The traction control lights and everything came on, so I knew my brakes needed to be changed, and I just added it back to the fill line. And so I knew I had some extra in there that I was gonna have to siphon out eventually. But it's better to have extra in here, because if the fluid level drops too low and you get air in the system and you're pumping air, then you're going to need to bleed the brakes. But just make sure that you're on your max level when you're done. And that's pretty much it for now on the front. So I'm going to do the rears, and hopefully I'll do a video for that if it's any good. So.